All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. And today we have a special guest, Brother Benjamin. We've been meaning to connect now for like, what, 2 years?
Yeah,
Nah, for real, like, it was like 2 years ago. It was like, let's do a show. A year and
yeah,
a half.
yeah.
Yeah. So we've been meaning to connect for a minute now. What we're going to discuss today is Killmonger's Journal. Is a project the brother's working on, or actually doing. It's the Conscious Communities Pan-African Journal, and we'll jump straight into it. Now, the Killmonger, well, obviously that came from the Black Panther. How do you feel about Killmonger and his role? Like, what are your thoughts on Killmonger? I actually like Killmonger.
Well, I'm known amongst the conscious community as Black Panther, so I wanted to throw people off because they're like, "Well, why is your journal called Killmonger's Corner?" I called it Killmonger's Corner. Number one, I got the idea from a brother who calls himself Truth Historian from MBK. I got the idea from him because we were talking about the Killmonger character in the movie, and he's supposed to represent the African American, the African American that was exiled and brought back home, and he's bringing up all these issues of things that he experienced. So I wanted to bring a certain element of that to the journal because this is the conscious community's first Pan-African journal. So most of the minds that come in this journal are African American. So we have our own experience, our ideals, our beliefs of what happened to us on U.S. soil.
Right.
So I thought that Killmonger was a good representation of that, being that that was his arc, not only in the comics, but in the film.
Okay, now the way he went out, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how he made the demise?
Did
Like,
he go out?
really, what are your thoughts on his overall strategy?
Killmonger has some great ideas. He just went about it a little messed up. But he has some great ideas. He has great strategy. He just, Killmonger's attitude is nothing's going to stop him from achieving his goal. Not protocol, not elders, not anything. I mean, his name is Killmonger for a reason. I mean, he got that name from actually killing.
Right.
So, and that's in the comics and in the film,
Right.
People always ask me, man, why did they kill Killmonger off? You got to know the narrative of Killmonger. Killmonger in the comics has been killed so many times and has come back now. So I don't know if they have officially killed him off in the MCU. I would not be surprised to see him again in the second movie, especially because he's being played by Michael B. Jordan, who has a lot of, star power. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw him again.
I don't think he's gonna be in part two, from what I understand. From what I understand, they're gonna give. In fact, let's speak on this, Benjamin. So the next James Bond is supposed to be a black woman.
Yeah.
The next Captain America is supposed to be a black man.
Yeah.
From my understanding, Shuri is gonna become the next Black Panther. If I'm spoiling this, spoiler alert. It's supposed to become the next.
Comics. She does become Black Panther in the comics because of T'Challa's injuries with him fighting with the Avengers. So she does take that role temporarily in the comics. So it could happen.
Oh, okay. But just overall in the entertainment industry, like black people gaining all these major roles that then you have the Little Mermaid situation. So black people gaining all these roles that are these prominent, I would say, in quotation marks, roles that were played by white people or white roles. Is there a hidden agenda?
We never know the underlying undertone. We never know if they're gonna snatch the rug out from under us. You just never know that, and that's the chance you take acting in Hollywood. That's the chance you take being in that arena. So we can't say for sure, but I'm never surprised. I'm never surprised when it is, it comes around and you're like, oh man, they did my man dirty. I'm never surprised when that happens.
Since we're speaking on Killmonger, what are your thoughts on the whole ADOS movement?
One of the first things I did was I went to their website. I read their kind of like their mission statement, their manifesto, their plan in which they map out what they wanted.
Uh-huh.
For the most part, I agreed in what they wanted,
Right.
what they were asking. But
Me too.
the way they move is the problem. There's an agenda, and there seems to be agenda against African people. I have watched her, and speaking of her, Yvette Carnell,
Right.
put out things on social media. And I'm not going to be the one to go back and forth with people on social media. That's just not me.
All
but
right.
I will say she's a poor student of history. She puts out things that are not historically accurate, or she tells one side of it and doesn't tell
Can you give us a specific something she put out specifically that
she put out ashikis were made from the Dutch.
okay, the fabric.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fabric, the specific fabric that they're talking about. Yes.
Dutch wax. Yeah.
But that's not what she conveyed in her message. And people are saying, "Oh, the Dutch created dashikis and they traded slaves for it." Look, Dutch shark trade. That's crazy, right?
Right. They were trading slaves for dashikis.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
And people send me these things, right? And they go, "Oh my God, did you see this?" And I'm like, "What?" So the Dutch slave trade, they kicked off slave trade about 1660.
Right.
Africans been wearing dashikis 10th, 11th century.
Right.
So no, they weren't the creators of the way that we dress. So that's what I mean by being a poor student of history, not telling the entire narrative. And you do this over and over, and it creates a pattern. You have a disdain for continental Africans, and you want to distinguish yourself from them, and that's fine. You can do whatever you want with your movement. But as African people worldwide, I think it's kind of counterproductive. And I believe that what she wants fits inside of many movements, and there doesn't have to be a us versus them type of thing. We could really work together, us being Pan-Africans, if you're ADO, hell, if you're Hebrew, whatever you are, doctrine aside, to actually improve Black people's condition in America, we can work together. But some people, feel as if they have to do the versus thing, and that's their prerogative.
Okay. Guys, let's hit this like button as you come into the chat room, please. Hit that like button. Greatly appreciate it. And we got the brother Benjamin on. Today's topic is Killmonger's Journal, the conscious community, Pan-African. And what we'll do in probably like 30 minutes, we'll take some calls. So if you want to hop on and ask some questions, I'll go ahead and send you guys the link. So what's the importance? Like, why, you have your platform, I have my platform. What's the importance of having our own platform? Because I was actually listening to Boyce Watkins some this morning, and I guess the Chinese they're planning on providing televisions. It's called like 10,000 televisions or something in the name of the project by, I guess, 2025 to people in rural communities in Africa. And we know the type of propaganda that's probably going to be on these televisions. So how can we counter measures like what the Chinese are trying to do, or their agenda?
Investing in Africa.
Yeah.
We have to invest in Africa. The ones amongst us that are privileged to do so, that can do so, we have to start investing in our home. We have to start investing in our people, because if we don't, there are plenty of other groups that will. Chinese aren't the only people trying to get in and do things in Africa. You had the Japanese trying to do the same thing. I mean, there's so many, because of the resources in Africa are abundant. Everybody knows that. 82% of the world's resources come out of Africa. So they want to get in on that. Some of them already have got in on that in different projects. So they want to continue that. They want to build a relationship with Africa, and they're going to broker money and material things to try to get in permanently and broker this relationship so they can profit, so they can benefit. Meanwhile, the African people on the continent not going to get a damn cent, not going to get a damn dime. They're going to be living just as bad with a good TV as they were before they came there. And that's sad, but we have to go over there and do what you're doing, broker those relationships, build those bridges. More of us have to do that.
Now, for the ADOS people or just in general that say, hey, we need to focus on America. Africa's not doing nothing for us. All this other stuff. Like, what would you tell them? Africa's not reaching out to us. We need to focus on our situation here in America. We need to build our communities here in America. Like, what would be your response to that?
It is my thought process that Black people will never become a global power until we fix home. We need to be a global power. We need representation at the United Nations. We need representation in these arenas that you have to have a nation to be a part of. Black people can come together in America and become a political party. We can come together in America and fix our communities. We can come together in America and patrol our neighborhoods, but we are still Americans. We can't be our own nation in America. Right. To be our own nation, we're going to have to reach back home and get a nation that is with our agenda to start to facilitate our ideas. So I'm not saying America is not important by no means, but Black people can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, right?
Exactly.
Everybody can't be fixated on one problem. We can all work on different projects and come together in the middle.
Right. Shout out to Greg in the chat room. Shout out to Greg. Nevi Miriam, if you want to call in, I just put my email address in the chat room. So please send me an email and I'll send you the link. I had one more question I want to ask you to follow up to that. So of course, again, and then the excuse is, well, white supremacy is global. The white man is Thanos. The white man is, wherever you go, the white man is in control. So therefore, we shouldn't go to Africa because the white man is Thanos. What would be your response to that? I'm serious. I'm serious. The white man is Thanos.
That just can't be an excuse. If that's an excuse, then why do anything at all?
Right.
The white man is all powerful and all knowing, and he's got the infinity gauntlet, then why do anything at all? It is true that wherever you go, you're going to experience some type of neocolonialism, whether you go to Detroit, whether you go to Lagos. But one thing I will say is, in Africa, the opportunities are endless. Right. You have a better chance for ownership. You can invest your money, it will go further. You have a chance to build with your own people and get things accomplished, which might take you, if it takes you 160,000 in America, you can get that same thing done for like 40,000 in Africa.
Back.
And that's just what it is. I mean, when I went to Senegal, I pulled out 300,000 francs from the ATM, and it was $238.
Right.
I was a millionaire for the 10 days I was there. I said, dang, mama, I made it. I knew I was going to be a millionaire. I ain't know where, but I knew I was going to make it.
All right. And then here we go. Here's another stalling tactic. They have not, the only African countries who have owned up for their role in slavery is Ghana and Benin. Therefore, we're not going.
Sorry about that, brother. I got a call in the middle of what you were saying. Could you repeat the question?
Okay. So the other stalling tactic is, pretty much African sodas.
Okay.
So what are your responses to that? When they say, no, I'm not.
I tell them to search the entire narrative. It's not like Africa ever wrote to Europe and said, hey, would y'all come over here? We can broker a deal and we got these slaves and y'all come over here and we can get rich. That's not what happened. I would really challenge people to research the entire narrative of how things happen, warring tribes against each other, white men come in, pick up the pieces. I would challenge people to see how they would come in and create, cultural.
Then the brother froze up on us. Benjamin, you there? Benjamin, you there? Hold on, guys, please. We're having some.
But
okay, Benjamin, we had lost you for a second. Yeah, froze up on us.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now. But we had lost you after, I guess, the warring tribe part.
Oh, sorry. The calculated games that Europeans, played on us, and the lying and the dishonesty and getting us to sign contracts, and different things happen in which African people were duped and tricked, and it's so much more to the story than Africans sold their own people. That's
Right.
not an accurate display of history at all. And one thing I want to say, of the I believe there's 27 post-classical kingdoms. I can only probably name about 5 or 6 kingdoms that were involved in the slave trade. So why don't we talk about the kingdoms that weren't? Why don't we talk about the kingdoms that fought back? Why don't we talk about the kingdoms that even sacrificed themselves not to be slaves? Kings that got their heads cut off, like King Awonsu and Bansu in Ghana. Why don't we talk about those? We only focus on these 5 or 6 kingdoms that were involved in the slave trade. We don't talk about any of the other ones that fought back, like the Dogon, like the Masi. We don't talk about those.
Uh-huh. Well, guys, make sure you hit that like button as you come to the chat room. And again, if you want to call in, put the email in the chat room. Please send me an email. I will forward you the link, and you can call in. Benjamin, what's the future of Black people here in America, if you could predict it, if you had a crystal ball?
The future of Black people in America, it's very very undetermined, very undecided. We're at the point now where we have to do something. I always say to people, just get started. Whatever you feel like you need to do for Black people, just get started, because the reality of it is everybody ain't gonna make it.
Right.
Everybody ain't gonna be, we're not gonna, if you're waiting for 14% of the population to come together in this mass, Black pop, it just ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Now, because the reality is some of your family, some of your friends, it may even be your spouse, don't have the attitude to be successful in this country, because we got to stop looking at people as our friends. Everybody ain't our friends. Some people do not have the strength to do this. It takes a very disciplined mind to really sit and analyze the situation and say, I'm going to stand for this. I'm going to do this for my community, and nobody's going to stop me, whoever it is. A lot of people just can't do that. So we're not all going to make it. Get started. And my hope is that we start to really make not only political change, but start to police our own communities and really start to show people that we're serious.
Is that possible, to police your own communities? Like how does that?
Not totally, not 100%, but you can look after your community. White people do it all the time. They call it neighborhood watch.
Right.
We won't do that. We stay in our community, we stay in our homes with our blinds, and we looking through, We got to start being more of a community, or like the Central Africans say, an Mbongi, a community that works together efficiently. We got to really start communicating with one another, you know, check on people, you know. And one thing we can do today, if you are out anywhere and you see a brother or a sister,
just say hello or peace. Just greet them.
Well, yeah, you can start by just saying hello. But if you see them getting attacked, you see them getting their hands put on, you know, and you got the will and the means and the heart, man, get in there and stop that. Stop. Because I keep seeing these videos of these others putting their hands on brothers and sisters, and everybody's just recording. No, somebody needs to put that phone and get involved. I can't stand that, man.
Shout out to Fafu Malau in the chat room. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us, Fafu Malau. Let's see what else we got. Any other questions in the chat room? And guys, people keep asking me, how do I call in? Okay, I keep saying, email me, send me an email. I keep posting an email in the chat room. If you like to call in, email me, and I will send you the link.
Hey, man, you're dealing with what I deal with.
What? What's that?
You know,
I mean, like I say, okay, if you wanna call in, email me. I'll put the email in the chat room. Hey, how do I call in?
Like, hey, another thing black folks can start doing, we can start reading stuff in front of you, man. You don't know how many times I posted a video and I say, hey, the link is in the description. Where did I get
I can't find the link. I can't find the link.
The link. How do I purchase? Read the description. Black folks gotta start reading, man. Please.
Yeah, so if you like to call in, I keep putting the email in the chat. Send me an email. I will send you the link. Let's see what else we got here in the chat. Let me ask you, what are people missing out on who don't have a African plan, who are not considering doing anything in Africa and just being what I call Captain Black Americans?
They're missing out on being immersed in their culture, learning about their ancestors, learning about what makes them them. You know, contrary to popular belief, it's more than melanin that makes us African people. It's more than DNA. It's culture. Our culture makes us African. Our culture tells a story of who we are and where we came from. So you're really missing out on a part of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now you just recently got back from South Africa. Can you tell us about that trip?
Man, you know, South Africa was something I kind of just settled on last minute.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to take a family trip, and we did that. Wanted to bring our kids to Africa for the first time. And South Africa was really nice, man. I know a lot of people say things about South Africa. I had a great time. South Africa has a lot of educational places, a lot of history in South Africa. And one thing South Africa has that a lot of places don't have is a political party dedicated to the South Africans. And I'm talking about the EFF with Brother Mandela that runs it. And I was impressed, man. You know, I met a couple brothers from there. I was impressed in the way they moved, and I was impressed in the way that they're fighting for South Africa. And, you know, you're just not going to see that nowhere else. You know, you're driving down the street, see vote for, you know, Julius Mandela, a black brother running for the top spot. You ain't going to see that nowhere else in the world, you know. You go to places and they named after Africans, you know, Mandela Square. That's a whole mall named after a black dude. Like, there's so much history there. You know, if anybody's seen the movie Serafina, they got the actual places there. They made memorial monuments to those kids and what happened there. You know, it's so much education there. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. You know, I went to the not so glamorous part as well, Soweto. Saw how those people were living in the slums as well. It was a great experience. It kind of shocked me how much I liked it because, you know, I'm a West African. all day long. But
Okay, now, okay, you just said so. Not to cut you off, you just said something. You say you're a West African. Now,
I am.
people will say, okay, now ADOS is saying, or Black Americans saying, we have our specific culture, and we go to America. We want to hold on to our culture, our Black American culture. What would be your response to that?
A lot of it is the same.
Okay, there you go.
A lot of it is the same. When you go to Africa and you meet Africans and you see how they interact and what they do, you will see a lot of the things that you do that you thought were unique to our experience. It's not that unique. I mean, dances, little sayings, food. Just we don't know how African we are. We do a lot of stuff that originated on the continent, and you can call it what you want, ancestral memory, whatever. But we do a lot of things just like them. And when you go to Africa, you don't have to lose yourself or you can still be you. They want to know just as much about how we do it over there as we want to know how they do it over there.
Right.
It's a cultural exchange that goes on. They asking me questions, I'm asking them questions. Shoot, I met a brother in Senegal. He was asking me about white people because he had never met one. They call them two bobs. And he asked me, he said, well, how is the
two bobs?
Yeah, that's what he said. That means white people in Wolof, two bob. So
Okay.
he said, how is the two bob in America? And I had to, tell him, the history, and he was shocked. He didn't know what I knew, and then he was sharing some of his cultural things. So I think people that have that attitude should just go, wipe your mind, blank slate, and just have the experience and then make up your mind. I'm not saying you got to stay in America. I'm not saying you got to stay in Africa, but form your plan off an informed decision versus making up your mind for what you heard or what somebody said, read, or go visit, man. I got tired of reading about Africa. I wanted to go. So that's why, I saved my coins and I went.
Yeah, like I said, people are still using 1970s stereotypes,
I
not going in 2019.
Black people still have that 1960s, 1970s mentality. We even our solutions that we come up with. Brothers say, well, we're going to all rise up together. It's going to be a bloody civil war.
Rise up.
I said, man, we 14% of the population. We'll get slaughtered. That's not tactically or efficient any type of way. It's not going to be a Marvel Civil War when they on one side, we on the other side. You ready? If you waiting for that, I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Right. No, yeah, exactly.
And they got all the weapons. I don't want to do that. I've been in the military. I can tell you now, they got some stuff you ain't going to survive.
Okay, let me add, and I always get into these military debates. America versus China, who wins?
Well, clearly they have more people, but I believe our military is more prepared. So I would actually go with America.
Okay, us versus Russia.
I don't know too much about Russia's tactic plans. I'd have to research that more. Really know about Russia and their and how they train their military. I've never met a person from the Russian military, so I don't really know.
Okay, we have Sister Miriam on the line. Go ahead, Miriam.
Hi. Okay, I have two questions.
Go ahead.
One
Peace,
question.
sister.
Hi. I wanted to know what is Benjamin's YouTube channel?
Benjamin, you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, it is Black Panther, BlackPantha, and you can also find it on the Mossy Warrior Clan channel, MossiWarriorClan. Mossy Warrior Clan is my scholarship group, and we put out information about a variety of places in Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the first question is, I just want to know, it's just a question. I don't want people to think that I'm talking bad about people or whatever, but I know there's a push not to vote if the agenda of reparation is not on the ballot.
Mhm.
But my fear is this is like one of the most important voting times ever because there's 468 seats that we can fill in for Congress, which is the lawmaking side, and the president. So why are we being discouraged to vote of all times this time? Like it's kind of scary, but maybe I just don't know any better. So that's one question. And then the other, yeah.
Well, let's address. You want to answer that? Because I tell you right now, if reparations are on the ballot, I'm not voting.
But why aren't we pushing the Congress people?
I'll vote. I'll write in a vote.
I'll do my best to answer your question, sister. I don't claim to be a political expert or anything like that. I'm not the politician guy. Anybody will tell you that, because I don't ever see a candidate that is for Black people. I know you are focusing more on the congressional side, and my argument is the same. I don't ever see a congressman that I can say,
did we lose the brother?
have our agenda. Do they have our agenda in place? I don't ever see a congressman or a candidate that has an agenda that benefits us. All of these other groups have gotten their just due, whatever they be. You know, we don't need to name them, but they've gotten their just due. Whether they've lobbied to candidates, whether they've paid for funding or whatever they've done, they've got their just due. And year after year, we don't.
So we don't want to try to fill those seats?
Fill them with who?
With who?
With you or Professor Black
I'm
Truth.
not qualified to be a congressman. They have certain mandates and certain boxes you got to check to even be considered.
Hold on, 1 second, Benjamin. Is Professor Black Truth running for Congress?
No, I don't think so. But I'm saying DineSU or people that we, are people.
I hear where you're coming from, sister. Trust me, I don't want you to feel like I'm just dismissing your idea. But as I was saying, you got to check certain boxes even to be on the ballot for a Congress nomination. You can't just it's not like president where you can write yourself in, and be like, oh, I'm running for president, because anybody can actually run for president as a write-in, or I forget the term, but Congress is a little different, and we would have to go through the political channels to even be considered, and that's a long process from what I've studied and what I know. Like I said, I'm not the political guy, and I understand when people say, if it's not tangible results, I'm not voting, because it's just been too long. It's been too long. That Star 40 has been on the table for a long time, and Cobra put that thing there a long time ago. And year after year, we get our best and brightest, and we bring them to the congressional hearing, and we plead our case. Why do we even have to plead this case? It should even be, it should be automatic given the history, but we do. We gather up our best and brightest, or our most popular, or people that we think will do a good job, and they go and they put out all the evidence on the table, and year after year, it's not approved. So let's say if we get 5 or 6 of us on that board, that's not enough.
468 those available.
Let me ask you a question. America as a whole, us being 14% of the population, how many people you think we're going to get to vote for Black people?
I think certain states, if we're really on code and we understand what's at stake, I don't know.
If we really understand what's at stake and we're
Yeah.
on code. So now we're already talking about we got to do some educating prior to voting, because
Yes.
most black
I
folks
mean, you got black people out here more concerned about what's going on at south of the border. People coming from Central
yeah.
America
Not
more concerned about
more,
that than they are
they more
black people.
concerned with party being offset than what's going on in their communities. So we're gonna have to do a lot of educating. That's a lot of ground to make up in a short amount of time.
I think about the educating, I have this belief that I don't think black people are like all the others. We can't just have a leader and we're the herd. I think each person has to be educated, and then we all go with our own conviction forward. But whenever we rely on the leader, it never works well for us, I think. But I
I,
think we shouldn't be afraid of the educating. It should be
I agree.
always ongoing. Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that, and that's really why I put this journal together. I wanted to introduce some of the new brightest minds into the community, because, like you said, in past movements, when the leader go down, the movement go down.
All right.
Hmm.
Everybody gone once they take out this one guy. So if you know a multitude of guys, if you know a multitude of people that are pushing the line, then it's more sustainable versus one person leads a movement, and if that person gets attacked or gets sick or God forbid dies, the whole movement is now in disarray, and it's a fight for the crown, and then the movement just kind of goes by the wayside. So I definitely agree with you, sister, on that.
Okay, my second question is, okay, at the same time that we're being encouraged not to vote at this pivotal time, I think, at the same time, we're also being encouraged to separate between Caribbean and African and Black American. And it just seems so all part of one big agenda, but I don't know, you know.
It is some people's agenda. Uh, let me answer that in two parts. I understand when people say, well, black folks in America need to be first at the table for reparations. I understand that 100%. If
Right,
the reparations are coming from the United States of
right.
America,
I
we
agree with that. Uh-huh.
first, because we're the ones that suffered the pain and the horror and the torture all on this soil. I understand that. But as a global people and as unity and as getting things done, African people are African people, whether they from Caribbean, whether they from Jamaica, whether they from Haiti, whether they from anywhere in the world, because we're everywhere. Everywhere I've gone, I've seen black folks in abundance. In Paris, wherever I get stuck in my travels, I see black folks. So no
Mhm.
matter where we are, we're one people, and
Right.
people need to remember that, and because we are definitely stronger together, especially considering the numbers we have in America versus the numbers we have globally. We're much more stronger together globally because we outnumber everybody globally. You know, we don't outnumber everybody, unfortunately, in our domestic environment.
Do you feel that there's an attempt to divide the African from the Black Americans?
There always has been, but now it's being pushed by people that look like me and you.
Yes. And also being, yeah, yeah. Okay. I guess that was my two things. I just feel like they're connected, but yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mary, Miriam, now you're from Ethiopia or Eritrea?
No, I'm from Chicago, but my
Oh,
parents are from Haiti.
from Haiti. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And I live in Israel.
Oh, that's right. You live
Oh,
in Israel. How's that going?
uh it's just it's kind of like it's like as long as you don't with the Americans, as long as you don't show that you're aware of things, everyone's your friend and everything's fine and things are great.
yep.
With the Israelis, I feel a little bit more open. I can be more myself and talk because they're very also keeping it real, but kind of in a different way.
Mhm.
So I feel more at ease with the Israelis. With the
No,
Americans, I feel more guarded. And with this whole thing with the Ethiopians happening,
Yeah.
okay, here's what I think. I think a long time ago, the good people wanted the Ethiopians to come because, like, they're our brothers, we're all Jewish. But at the same time, the wicked people, they needed somebody to be the new underdog, because they tried to do it with the Sephardi Jews, and the Sephardi Jews asked the Black Panthers for help, and they learned from the Black Panthers to form a party and to protest and to fight, and it was successful, and they were not mistreated. So I mean, they're still mistreated, but not as much. So now they needed a new group, someone who didn't know anything about the Black Panthers and who didn't know anything about anything. And I think that's why they also welcomed the Ethiopians. So there's good and there's bad as to why they came, but I don't know if they're aware of the bad side.
Hey, do me a favor, sister. When you get off, I want you to Google two things: Operation Moses and Operation Solomon.
Yeah.
What is that? I'm interested now.
Both operations were started by both the first President Bush and his father Bush, and it has to do with the movement of Falasha, what they call Falasha Jews,
Right.
or Ethiopian Jews, and United States hand in that.
Right. No, I'm aware, and also there's a guy named Sandy Leader who really encouraged all this to happen, because before no one would listen to him. So he just went with his truck and loaded up a whole bunch of Ethiopians and drove, paid whoever he had to pay off and drove them in. And like
That's great.
people saw that it was, and he's a neighbor, he's right here.
Wow.
And like this, people saw that it's possible, that they can't say no, because he just showed that it can happen. But I still think that there were good motives for it, and there were not good motives for it.
Now, did you get your citizenship in Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dual citizenship.
Yeah, from what I understand, from what I read, as long as you get sponsored by like a rabbi, like you're good. Is that true, or
Good, like what? Like, what do you mean?
you get a citizenship? Like if you're sponsored by a rabbi.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As long as you can prove that you're Jewish, either you converted or you have a rabbi writing a paper for you. Yeah.
Because I know Amari Stoudemire, he's a dual.
Yeah.
I've been trying to reach him, but I guess I can't seem to. I guess he's too famous.
Well, he's right now playing for the Big Three. So
yeah.
Okay.
You have any other questions, sister?
That was it. Thank you so much. I love your show, Dynast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, so like in Israel, as long as you if you convert to Judaism and get your rabbi to write a letter for you, you get your citizenship.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder. I don't see a lot more people doing that.
A lot more people don't. Well, I mean, the thing is,
I mean,
the Hebrew
Israelites among us,
Oh, well, they're not.
Maybe serious.
They're not serious. I mean,
they don't consider themselves Jewish.
Yeah, but even then, when you're now saying that the Nile, the Mississippi River is the Nile River, and America is Israel, I mean, it's like, come on. I'm dead serious. You laughing? I'm dead.
I know, that's why I'm
laughing. I mean, I'm dead serious. So, my thing is, you're right. But like I said, a lot of them are serious. That's all. The most serious ones I knew of were your boy Ben Amin. That group of Hebrews, like those are the only ones I knew who were like serious. But these other ones that stand on a street corner, read Revelations chapter 4, verse 19. Them. Those ones, they're not serious. Guys, if you want to call in, shoot me an email and I'll send you the link. Again, we got the brother Black Panther on with us. Let's see what else we got here in the chat room.
It's on Amazon. If you want to purchase, you can get it on Amazon. Killmonger's Corner.
Do me a favor. Email me or Facebook me all the links to your sites and stuff, so I can put them in the chat room real quick as well.
Let me do it right now.
So Benjamin, what are your thoughts since we're speaking on that, on this whole, I'm not black, I'm indigenous, I'm a Chickasaw, copper colored, Hennessy colored, Choctaw, Moorish Moor from Turtle Island, Olmec. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
We did a video not too long ago with a man named Rick Kittles. And for those that don't know,
that's a DNA expert, right?
Huh?
That's the DNA expert, right?
Yes, I call him the godfather of black genetics.
Okay.
Rick Kittles, along with Gina Page, owns AfrikanAncestry.com. So They have the largest database of African DNA in the world. He came on the show and we asked him this question directly. Are black people, Native Americans, are black people indigenous to America? Were we here first? And what he said was that is false and it's an outright lie. He further said that we have the archaeology, the DNA, the anthropology, everything that we have to determine that African people came from West Africa. When he says African people, he's talking about African Americans. I concur with his statement. It's just really poor study and being color struck why people say what they say. For some reason, black people think we're the only people in the world that are melanated. That probably comes from people not traveling. Because if you went to Saudi Arabia, you see a lot of people your color, but they don't have the same DNA structure as you do.
Repeat that again. That's important. What you just said, that's important.
Yeah. If you went to Australia, you'll see people with your color, but they don't have the same DNA structure as you. If you went to anyone in zone 2, and by when I say zone 2, I'm referring to what's called a skin map of where the sun is measured of where it's hottest. And anybody in that zone has this particular pigment. And that's why people look the way that they do. So your color does not determine whether you're African or not. So being that Native Americans have a certain color, some of them, that does not mean that they're African people. So people read Christopher Columbus's memoirs when he was talking about the copper color.
Yeah.
And he wasn't wrong. They are copper color. But that doesn't mean they're African people. And people, they have to start to get into science and they will understand your reaction between the tyrosine and melanin and why you look the way you do, why other people look the way they do, the differences in melanin between eumelanin, pheomelanin, neuromelanin, all of these different types of things. And you will understand why, oh, okay, yeah, they were copper color, but they weren't African people.
Okay, yes. Now, what about now somebody, let me read this comment in the chat room. Okay, Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Anybody that knows me knows that I did a 10-day kind of research discussion on Ivan Van Sertima's work. And by no means do I mean to disrespect or belittle or anything like that. But I've read Ivan Van Sertima's work. He came before Columbus and Africans' early presence in America. And I've checked the sources. That's something. Now, what I said just then is something that a lot of people have not done. They haven't checked the sources. And when you check the sources, you will find out that a lot of Ivan Van Sertima's work doesn't stand on a solid foundation. A big portion of his work was taken from a book by Donald Mackenzie called Pre-Columbian Myths. It's a book of myths about, they're just stories, pre-Columbian stories. And he kind of takes from these and then, tries to match it up to real events, and it doesn't pan out. According to Ivan Van Sertima, around the Ramesseid era in Egypt, the Nubians visited South America. We have no evidence of that.
So Abu Bukhari from the Mali Empire sailed across to South America, you're saying?
No. Abu Bukhari, see, people got to look into Malian kingship records. There are two Abu Bukharis. One Abu Bukhari, of course, is a brother of Mansa Musa. Another Abu Bukhari is a myth. They're not the same person. So the one talking about he sailed here, and then even if you read the story, it doesn't say where he sailed. It didn't say where he went. It didn't say if he made it. It just said that he sailed away. But that Abu Bukhari, it's just a story. There's no evidence of him crashing anywhere or landing any place and influencing people, or we don't have that. We don't have that. The whole work and this narrative is based on a bunch of assumptions and hope. And when you really get into the specifics and really read his work, like for example, he talks about this color, purple Direx. He says that it was originally on the Olmec heads and that it was found in Egypt and it was a color of royalty. Not only was it never found on the Olmec's head, it wasn't found in Egypt either. That specific type of color is now found in Egypt. Now, if he would have said Egyptian blue, we would have had something. But he said purple Direx, and that's nowhere to be found in Egypt. Not only that, if you look at his translations in his book, he translates Medu Neter in his book. They're off. They don't say what he says that they say. Like he has some A word for teacher, and people that study Medu Neter know that word is Siba. So his translations aren't correct. Not only that, the Olmec language has not been deciphered. We don't know what the Olmec language says. So what he had to do is take a Mayan language and compare it with Medu Neter. So see, you're already off, because you can't use the text of a people that's not the same people that you're talking about. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of like if you wanted to compare something to Egyptian, but you use the Nubian language instead of the Egyptian language. You can't do that. Your method is already flawed. And little things like that pile up in this book. He was also quoted as saying he had some figurines in a private collection that he found that looked more African than the figurines that were found in the temples of the Olmec people. When you go to the source of this guy that said he had this private collection, the guy in the private collection said that he believed that his figurines were fakes. But
Brother Benjamin, I think we lost him. Hold on one second. Everyone, please hit that like button as you come to the chat room. Please hit that like button, okay? That's all I ask for. If you're not super chatting, the least you could do is give me a like. That's the least you could do. And if you're new, please subscribe as well. Please subscribe. Brother Benjamin. Brother Benjamin. Benjamin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we had lost you.
Oh, what I was saying is we have to look at things, all the evidence, and you know, citing brothers that have fake figurines and citing colors that are not found in the culture and citing language that doesn't match up. We have to look at all of that before we endorse something. And I can't, with good confidence, as a researcher and as a scholar, endorse his work.
Okay. We got brother George Macon on. Go ahead, George.
Hey, peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I gotta. What's up, Monster Warrior Clan? Stand up. I got a question. But first, I want to say, like, you know, my parents is from the Caribbean, but my father's African American, and the problem that I see with the division with the ADOS is a lot of the people that's coming from the Caribbean or came from Africa is not my grandparents. They're not Stokely Carmichael and them. A lot of these people that come over today that's able to come into America, they're like pro-establishment. They're not really bonding with the African Americans to create civil rights movements or Black Power movements. They actually stay away from us. So, and I know this firsthand because even when I look at my family today, some of my cousins and stuff, they can't stand African Americans. They'll sit there and say things about African Americans to me, and I'll argue with them because I'm saying, wait a minute, my mom is Cuban and Panamanian, but I'm fucking African American. My father's African American. I was born here. I don't fuck with that, like what y'all talking about. But my grandmother would have never talked like that. My grandmother seen herself as a Black woman. There was no Stokely Carmichael, there was no division. So I think sometimes we get hypocritical when we really don't really address the elephant in the room and what the problem is. A lot of Africans that come here, they're not Kwame Nkrumah. They're not the Africans that came here, the ones that's getting their green cards to come here. Those are the things we got to address.
You know, and the thing, I addressed that, and I've said this before. Nigeria imports a ton of coons, or immigrants a ton of coons here in America. I agree. I say it all the time.
Mm-hmm. So, and I'll just say one thing that I saw that I really respected was Ghana's president the other day when he was talking about the African diaspora. And he said was the first time I ever seen one of the modern African leaders say was, he said it's Africa's responsibility to make the diaspora strong, not the diaspora going back to Africa to make Africa strong. He said when Africa gets their act together, the diaspora will be strong the same way China is getting their diaspora strong. It's like the father's asking the son to come get the father right. So my thing is, I believe that a lot of us should go back to Africa and invest. But if Africa's there with over 1 billion people with all the resources, they got to get their act together and take care of the diaspora. So if you got kids in America saying, well, I'm able to go to school basically for free to get an education based off of Nigeria or what Ghana's doing to help the diaspora, kids will be more inclined to want to go back to Africa. So I believe it's incumbent upon the diaspora, Africa, to get their act together to strengthen its diaspora, not the other way around. And Ghana's president said that, and I respected that. I want to know, Brother Benjamin, what's your opinion on
that? My opinion for the first thing you said, Africans not liking Black people, it all depends on who you meet. I met Africans that love Black people. I met Africans that said disparaging things about Black people. I don't think we can blanket African people, just like you can't blanket African American people, because whether we want to admit it or not, when I was growing up, being that my father was African, it was all jokes about me being African. It was all jokes about me being from the continent. It was all jokes. Oh, you African booty scratcher this. So it's on both sides. Whether people want to admit it or not, the ignorance is on both sides. We make jokes about them. They may watch a twerk video or something online about, oh, look at them Negroes. Look how they behave. And it's just ignorance on both sides. So how do we correct that? By doing what we talked about at the beginning of this video, by what Brother Donis does, by what I do, by Brother RJ Mahadi does. Different brothers go over to the continent and build those bridges and get away from the stereotype, because a lot of what Africa sees is the worst of us. They see the worst of us on their TVs and what's pumped through their media outlets. So this attitude starts to develop. I guess the same way the attitude developed here in the late 80s and the 70s, when all you saw with Africa was villages and huts and people walking around naked. So the attitude develops on both sides, and we need to extinguish that. Going on further, what you said, brother, is I loved what the Ghana president said, because Africa does need to get their act together. There's a lot of corruption in Africa, because you look at Africa and you look at the demographics and you look at the specs and you're like, how is Africa struggling the way it is? Well, it's a lot of corruption. A lot of these leaders in Africa ain't doing shit for their people. And I'll tell them that to their face. They ain't doing shit for their people. They keeping all the money, and it's not making it to the communities. So they do need to get their act together. I do encourage investment in Africa, but Africa needs to invest in themselves as well. So I definitely agree. Just like we need to invest in ourselves in America. And that's what the whole buy black, buy the block, black owned businesses, support each other. That's where that, that's in that spirit, that's where it comes from. We do need to invest in ourselves, because if we don't, who is?
Right.
It's just not going to happen. It's got to be, on both sides of the table.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to say was, when we were growing up, see, this is the thing. When we were growing up, yeah, you had the jokes, the African booty scratching, all these things, but you also had Black Power movements. You also in America, you had a Marcus Garvey. That's not African Americans has always embraced people that came from other places.
Yeah, Garvey's from Jamaica, though.
Right. No. I'm making a point. What I'm saying is, the African Americans here on these shores have always embraced our people that came from different places that was each actually able to come here and lead movements. So even when we had jokes, what I'm trying to say is, the people that they're not all of them, because I don't want to say that, but a lot of the people that's coming today, they're not really being a part of the struggle of the movement. They come here to make money and do what they got to do for themselves. So there is no more. You don't really see like that Pan-Africanism. That's what I'm trying to say.
But let me ask you. I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. I would say there's a good movie you can watch, documentary called Bastards of the Party, and basically what it talks about. Have you seen that documentary before?
Yeah, I've seen some of it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So basically, what happened once the Black Panther Party got taken out, then here come the rise of street gangs, and then they put cocaine into the community. So the question becomes: the Black community has been somewhat, and still is, unstable. So when an immigrant comes here from wherever, what are they supposed to integrate into? I think that's the problem, because you mentioned, Marcus Garvey, the UNIA. There were strong Black communities that I know for a fact that when people from the Caribbean were immigrating into America back in like the 60s and 70s, they could immigrate into these communities. But speed up to the 80s and 90s, what exactly, African or Caribbean, what in the hell, what Black community are they supposed to integrate into?
I don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is, when the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I believe that when we have these conversations, we don't put them in this.
I'm sorry. I'm not justifying the cooning. Again, I agree that a lot of Africans come here and coon. They come here and coon. I agree. I'm not giving no pass to no African.
And so do we. And so do we.
Yeah, and so do we too. Exactly.
So as much as we get on them about coming over here and not, joining whatever we got going on, we got brothers in America ain't joining what we got going on. It ain't worried about it.
Right.
Over here to make money as well. So what I'm saying is it's got to be a balance. And like I said in the beginning, everybody ain't gonna make it. Everybody just people don't care. We don't have a sense of urgency. And that's people from the continent, and that's people in America. We're more concerned with building, our own agendas than a collective agenda. And that takes, sometimes that takes education for you to, kind of switch mindsets. And we all been through that. We all had that moment where we were like, oh man, I want to do something, for my, instead of just for myself. Some people haven't had that aha moment yet. You know, they haven't.
You know what I
felt
think it is? Brother Benjamin, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, what I'm trying to convey, the message I'm trying to convey is, I think a lot of African Americans don't understand what Africans went through in West Africa too. Yeah, I mean, you know, under the white power structure.
I agree.
I don't. This is why I'm bringing this up. I don't see a lot of them coming over being pro-black. The same way you see people today here frown upon pro-black. You being in the Mossy Warrior clan, me being on the pro-black side, we get a lot of pushback from our own people just for being pro-black and want to create black families. We get pushed back here. So the reason why I'm saying this stuff, when you look at our grandparents in them era to now, the ones that's coming over now are cooned out, and the ones that's here are cooned out. So it's kind of like, how do we even recreate this Pan-Africanist thought when the Africans don't practice Pan-Africanism and the Americans don't practice Pan-Africanism? These are not my we're not in the age of my grandparents.
I will give you this advice, brother. And it's similar to what I said earlier, but I'll be more specific. Find people that are like-minded with you, move in small teams, and get things accomplished. Don't sit here and wait, man, because like you said, let's just look at it as a global scale. The majority of black people is not on what we own. They just not. and maybe they will be later. Maybe they won't be, you know, but find like-minded individuals and start working and try to obtain your goals realistically, because realistically, everybody's not moving back to Africa. Realistically, we're not going to, you know, have this utopia in America overnight. But realistically, we can still get some things done. We can still teach our children. We can still develop programs to empower people economically. We can still put literature out there to try to wake up other black folks. I love what Brother Dynus does with the video, because he's showing the other part. You know, he's showing what most people either will never see or can't afford to see at this point in time, and that's important. So that would be my advice, man. Find like-minded individuals and build and create something, because that's what I'm doing. That's my contribution. That's why I brought this journal out, because I want people to see that there are brothers in the community that are still holding the line as far as scholarship is concerned, and that's my motivation, man, to keep working.
Yeah, I ask this last question and I'll go, because I know I see a lot of people, some people in the chat saying that I'm causing division, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm asking real questions because I understand the colonized mind of the African, and I understand the colonized mind of the African American, and how we're moving and operating today. Based off of, to me, in my opinion, I like what the Ghana president said, and I'll just say this, and I'll just get your opinion again. I believe that if Africa get itself together and begin to create something.
Hold on 1 second. Monday, I gotta mute you. You got your Metro PCS phone. Your Metro PCS phone, Monday. We gotta mute you. All right, go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
I believe if the African Union can somehow get strong with the dialogue that they create, and they begin to take care of the African diaspora, not European power structure, but if we somehow, where Africa was all the resources, if our the father got strong and was able to take care of the diaspora, I think a lot of things will begin to change. I think we're trying to do it backwards. It's like the son with limited resources is trying to get himself together to get to Africa. I believe Africa has to unify and practice that Pan-African, and then take it the way China's doing. China, when you look at China, it was a period of time when people would leave China and resist the regime. Now they're leaving and going to Africa, different places, and they represent China, and China support their diaspora. Africa has to support the diaspora for these conversations to change. That's just my opinion on it. It has to reverse. It can't be us supporting them first. It has to be them supporting us, building the diaspora up, and then we'll be able to go do our thing. I mean, that's just my opinion on that.
Benjamin, you want to respond to that?
I wouldn't say that that's a bad idea, brother.
Okay.
But as I always say, Black people can walk and chew gum at the same time. So we need to work on all fronts, getting everybody together.
Okay.
Get everybody together so we can move as a collective unit in whatever capacity that we can.
Okay, cool. Hey, George, if you could stay on for a second. Brother JC from the Congo, my brother from the Congo and Cabone is on. Hey, JC, I had to mute you. You had a lot of background noise. Just unmute yourself, JC. I know he wanted JC, unmute yourself. I had to mute you because of the background noise. Okay.
I think you have to unmute him.
No, I can't. He has to, like, for some reason when I mute, they have to mute themselves. Like, I don't hold on, let me see. Because it won't let me.
I got it.
All right, go ahead, JC. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We hear you.
Brother George, that assumption that you have that Africans are not trying to help themselves is not accurate. If we were to look at the percentile of Africans coming into the States, it's very minimal in comparison to how many Africans are still in the mainland of Africa. The idea that Africa is expecting the diaspora to help her come out of the boondocks is not accurate. The idea is for Africans from the diaspora and Africans from the mainland to get back together and be stronger together. You can see that, or you can refuse to see that, but these are the way things will work for us all as a unit, rather than deciding to have one side help the other first, for the other side to now say, you know what, I'm going to show you how thankful I am and come to you and help you. I really wanted to get that across.
George, you want to respond?
Did you hear me?
George, you there?
Yeah, he was kind of low. I couldn't really hear him that well.
Yeah, you're sounding JC. You're real low. I don't know if it's your headphones or.
What did
I
you
didn't
say?
I'll get back to it.
Okay. No, I think he was saying basically that as far as the Africa having to reach out to the diaspora isn't really. Go ahead, JC. Go ahead and repeat what you were saying.
Okay, so the idea that, sorry guys. I'm sorry guys, Dianis, I'm sorry, I'm messing up your show right now.
No, go ahead.
The idea that Africans are not trying to do anything to help themselves is not accurate. The idea that Africa is expecting the diaspora to come and save her from the boondocks is not accurate. The idea here is for Africans from the land and Africans from the diaspora to come together and build a stronger Africa. You were mentioning the Chinese that are leaving China to go to Africa. That's exactly the problem. The diaspora hasn't been doing that because there was the concept of where exactly am I from in Africa? And that brought gates that we didn't need, but they built those gates. Now, by bringing the kind of statements that, such as the one that you bring in, it's opening another door of Pandora. So I'm sorry, but I cannot sit here and just agree that Africa is waiting for um, the diaspora to come and serve her, and then all of a sudden, the diaspora is going to be like, oh, thank you for saving us. And then, what am I saying? The concept that Africa should come and help the diaspora for finally to have the diaspora to go back and say, you know what? Now that you've helped us, let us come and help you. We're not in those times anymore. We've tried that. You didn't stop mentioning the Marcus Garveys of the world. Well, I think that Ghana's got a lot to say thank you for when it comes to the Black Panther movement. But those are not those times anymore. We've tried that. We've tried doing one thing and then the other, but it didn't work. How about we try something else, which is let's put our strengths together and do it. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. But you.
Now, this is the disingenuous part. And this is the stuff that I'm talking about, Diners. And this is why we got to have these conversations, because it's just like anytime some African American or somebody make this comments, all of a sudden I'm being divided, or I'm saying, no, I'm not. Everything I said, that brother knows exactly what I meant when I said it and why I said it. Now, there's always been talk. These are not my words that I made up or me trying to divide Africans and African Americans. That's stupid. But these are words that's been said for generations. Africans in America have always fought for South Africa, for the liberation of Ghana, for all the things that's been going on. And it's in my grandparents' times, and it was reciprocal. In today's times, what I'm saying is when we look at Africa, what I'm saying is Africa needs a unified Africa where its diaspora could be stronger. How can anybody be offended by that? That's idiotic.
I'm not being offended by it. And don't insult me, please. The point here is not to be calling other people's names thinking that you're making a point. By telling me that my statement, by saying that my statement is idiotic, is calling me an idiot. You're calling me out of my name, and that's not correct. I'm gonna go back. George, I'm gonna go back and say that to you again. Okay? You are trying to make it sound as if though Africans are not trying to help themselves. And that's not the case.
Nobody said that.
But that's what you said. But that's what you said. You said Africa needs to help themselves because you were joining the Ghanaian. But you cannot in a speech. You cannot pick in a speech.
JC, what he said, I think he said that Africans need to help the diaspora, the continent. George, you're real low, George. We can barely hear you.
Well, you know what? I'm inside this thing. I said a unified Africa needs to strengthen its diaspora. You got Africans all over the planet, in America with all kinds of education and resources, in Europe with all kinds of education, but we're going through hell here. We need Big Daddy, our father, to unify themselves and strengthen us so that way we can be a global people. But you're not seeing that. That's all I'm saying.
Can I say something real quick? I think one thing that we are overlooking is, again, Black people in America are 14% of the population, and we can't unify. But you're asking 54 countries.
That's a good point.
And we got less people to come together, you know, and unify. I mean, we can't idea that Baba Sheikh Anta presented in the book Black Africa, an economic federated state. In fact, I would love to see that type of union. But that type of union, although it has been proposed before, is going to take some time, and it's going to take the right people in charge, and not some of these corrupt leaders that we have today in several African states, to put that on the table and make it a reality. So I think both people are going to have to, both sides are going to have to exercise a little patience and a little more, love towards each other, and just keep working, man. If we keep working both sides, then we can meet in the middle.
I agree.
It can't be, you not doing this and we need this, and let's just keep working, because we're not the majority, gentlemen. Nobody on this panel is the majority in terms of mindset, in terms of moving forward, in terms of getting things accomplished. If you talk to the average African or African American, everybody wants to see change, but a lot of people don't want to do the work. A lot of people just want to sit back and wait for it to happen. And
And
that
that,
is unfortunate, but that's what we're working through. We're trying to galvanize and we're trying to encourage people to get out there with us and present another narrative. We're trying to change the narrative of, oh, black people are lazy, or all black people in Africa are corrupt, or
Right.
oh, they're stealing research. No, we're trying to change that narrative on a global scale. So all ideas need to be vetted and put in its proper context, but it can't be us versus them. And that's
You
why
know,
I really don't really support the some of the narratives that come out of the ADOS, because it's a us versus them mentality.
I agree
And
with
as
that.
long as we keep that mentality, globally, African people will suffer. It's just like the old proverb, you know, when two elephants fight, the ground suffers. And right now, black people globally are the ground.
and I believe that is because we're also trying to rush into history. Our history is a long history, but modern history and the history of what we consider to be uh, modern is a recent one in Africa. The the independences or so-called independences of African nations are of a recent history. We cannot be comparing the development of the world as it is to what is in Africa, and
That's true.
the reason being we were never independent, and we are still not.
Right.
We are not making decisions for
Yeah, that's true.
ourselves. We are not making decisions for ourselves. So um, we can sit here and say this, and that, and forward, but at the end of the day, we have to face reality. And reality is they created systems in which we need to find ways to come out of. So that's
Absolutely.
I agree with them.
Absolutely. I
I
mean,
wanted to say, I was
go
going to
ahead,
say, if
brother.
my words offended you, if my words offended the brother, I apologize. I know when we have
hey.
these type of conversations, it gets real passionate. But I think, see, what the stuff that I'm saying is what the average African American says in a barbershop, on the streets, and his view. So an African American will look at Africa, he'll say, you have intact languages. You know where you come from. You have your culture. Y'all have a military. Y'all have a country. Like, how do y'all come here and seek the American dream and marry white? This is the way that they're thinking. So I think that when we have these conversations, we got to deal with the way we view each other. So this is where I think we run into the problem, because a lot of African Americans don't know their languages. They don't know where they come from. They look at the African sideways. So, but then the brother laid it out where he said, we're not in control of our countries. There's puppet leaders. A lot of African Americans are not looking at that. They just looking at the African as having things that they've been robbed of, but they still accept the
Right.
system.
Right. We got
That's
to
the
start looking
problem.
at both sides, man. We got
Right.
to look at this thing in duality, because you're right. A lot of African Americans say, "Well, y'all got all that, man. Why y'all want to
Right.
come here?" You know, but you're blanketing Africa, because you go to, when I went to Soweto, these people are living in tin cans with
I
no
agree.
AC, no heat, no electricity, and this is how they live, you know. But we
Well, the
don't
reason
think
why I'm
about
saying that,
that,
brother Benjamin,
you
I'm
know.
putting it out there because this is the way people talk, and this is
Yeah,
not just
yeah, I
me.
get what you're saying. I get
Yeah,
what
this
you're
is the way
saying.
we talk.
I get what you're saying, and I've heard it myself, so I
Right,
know that you're telling the truth.
The African come here from Soweto, and he living in a tin can, and he see us living in a row house with 3 bedrooms in a car. That's 5 star
Yeah,
to him. So he look at us like, man, you guys are lazy. You guys are
right.
selfish. We don't understand the
Yeah, you
politics.
know. He like,
Right,
why y'all even bucking the system? Like, y'all living good.
right,
What you talking about?
right.
You know.
We don't
So it's,
understand the politics.
You know,
yeah,
the other day, Dennis and I, we were talking about how African Americans were portrayed, or how what was that thing that motivated Africans to come to the States? And the one core question that I always asked was, why is it that Americans were never curious enough, Black Americans in particular, uh, or the diaspora as a whole, now that we have the possibility of traveling, you can take the decision on your own and say, you know what, I'm going this place and that place and that place. But 9 times out of 10, they chose to go to France, to go to Greece before thinking about going to Africa. Why is it that they modeled our minds like that? Now, to the question, why is it that Africans do want to come to the States? Well, the opportunities are shown on TV all the time. You have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You have all those movies that they decided to show us about Africa, about America. I mean, but they won't show you the South Side of Chicago.
Nah.
And if they do, they portray it in a way that is still appealing to some part of Africa.
Right.
They won't show you. They won't show you Brooklyn, Crown Heights back in the days.
Right.
Harlem back in the days.
Right.
No, they won't show you that. If they do, they'll show you the clubs, the inside of of those clubs. So,
right.
And when they talk about Africa, hell, they will show you the kids from Ethiopia suffering from hunger. Now, fast forward 20 years, they're not showing you Ethiopia today.
Right.
Now they're showing you the Congo, and they're talking about Ebola.
Yep.
And they're talking about Ebola.
Right. So the average African American is like, man, I ain't going over there. They got diseases and all this other stuff. I'm
not thinking that in Houston they had cases of Ebola.
Yeah, they did.
They would rather go to Brazil, knowing that they have the Zika virus, but they still went.
Yeah. Bobby, you know what people tell me when I tell them I'm going to Africa? They say, man, just be safe over there, man.
Like you're going in the war zone. You're going in the war zone.
I say, hey, man, don't you live in Chicago?
Like, seriously.
And he's like, yeah. I'm like, brother, you be safe. I'm going to be fine.
I mean, you land in a place. You land in a place where nobody's checking for you.
Yeah. Brother live in the south side of Chicago telling me to be safe. I said, no, brother, you be safe.
I ain't gonna lie, it was Dinah's videos seeing him not in the resorts but in them villages. Because I ain't gonna lie, I used to say they gonna kill Dinah's. Yeah, because I've been watching for a long time. I used to say they gonna kill Dinah's. I used to think that, like, but just over the years, and I gotta be honest though, like because see, I'm just the average African American with that social engineering. So
listen, brother George, I'm African, and there are places where Dinah's went I've never been.
Yes.
And I would never have the cojones, and I would never have the cojones to go.
Right, but Dinah's changed my opinion.
You know I'll go with you, brother.
I know.
No, I'll go with him because now he's got to love the land.
Yeah.
But if it were to be on my own, go to Mali in the villages. I don't know how you make your way down there, and then you came back.
I seen him sitting in a cave, Indian style with some Dogon people. I said, Dynasty lost his damn mind.
Not only did he come back, he came back a Dogon. He didn't just come back.
And for all of us, it's what really got us close to Dynasty's shows, because he was showing us things that were true, that were reality. He went to a village in Mali, and they were asking him, like, he was asking those people, so where do you get food? So they showed strategies on how to save the meat, where to save the meat, for how long that means. Take your meat from here, leave it outside somewhere for 2 days.
Yeah, did we lose you?
No, I'm back. I got a phone call and I just declined it. Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Put that meat out. I mean, people over here would not be able to leave 2 weeks without a refrigerator.
Yeah,
without an AC.
Different in Africa.
Without an AC. Without a heating system. And in Mali, at night, it gets really cold.
Oh, it gets freezing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, we all have things that, can make us find out about ourselves, basically. That's all I'm trying to say. And it's too bad the brother George dropped. But Hey, brother Benjamin. I don't know, man. I've heard you speak. I was like, man, I gotta get onto this because of him too. Shoot.
Have you?
Yeah, I heard. No,
Robert?
I was listening to the whole show when you guys started talking.
Oh,
I was
okay.
listening to the whole show, and you know, when sometimes I listen to Dinah's shows and I don't feel like I need to intervene because there'll be some people, the Choctaw people, Chickasaw people, the guys from the Nile up in Washington D.C. I just can't talk. I mean, I got onto a show with that guy, and I was like, okay, I was about to call him out of his name, but I was like, yo, you know, I can't do that. There's a reason for him to be here, so let's listen to him. But he had nothing to say that was good or that made sense to anybody, not even to himself.
Hey,
And I know he left the show knowing that.
Me and Dinah's, we like he said at the beginning of the show, we were been supposed to do this. I mean,
Yeah.
we live in the same city. We're in the state. We actually got the same tailor in Senegal.
Right.
I mean, we've
No
been supposed
shit.
to do this.
Yeah.
That brother is making money left, right, and center.
Well, he claims he's not. He claims he's not. He claims he's not. Yeah. But man, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Brother John Clark, anything you want to share in closing? And Benjamin, you can close out as well.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, like I said, Africa United is not only for Africa.
John, are you like in a stairwell?
Yes.
Yeah, it's echoing.
Hang on, let me try some.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Well, it's still echoing though.
It's still echoing?
Yeah, but go ahead. You gotta keep it short.
Yeah. Africa United is not necessarily Africans for themselves, united as the 54 countries that makes up Africa. Africa United is Africa 54 plus one. The plus one is diaspora. So we have to bring that whole thing together. So it doesn't matter. I was telling Janice the other day, you can pick up your flight and say, you know what, we take 500 people and we all go to Congo. And guess what? There's place. If you want to create your own little village in the Congo, there's space. But we don't have to ignore the fact that united we are strong, divided we are weak, and we've been divided for 400 years. Can't last no long. Just saying.
All right, Benjamin, go ahead, bro.
I definitely agree with you, brother. We've been divided too long, so if you get a chance and you got
Hold on. Hold on. All right, go ahead, Benjamin. Go ahead.
I was saying, if you got the resources, you got the chance to go to Africa, please, you know, go see what we're talking about. You know, in relation to the journal, man, I put this journal out so we can see the bright minds of our community, so we can see the bright minds who are dedicated to scholarship, that are dedicated to African studies. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and you know, people will talk crazy, like we're just a bunch of conspiracy theorists, like we don't know what's going on, and we're not gonna accept any of those labels anymore, any of those derogatory phrases. When people call us Hotep N-words or Hotep, we're not gonna take those labels anymore. We're showing you real scholarship. We got the elder Malimu Barudi in here. We got my brother Asar Imhotep. We got Wujawu. We got brothers from a variety of scholarship groups in the community. We got poetry in here. We got art by our sisters, Danielle Flowers, Brandy McMullen. My wife wrote a poem in this book. We got interviews. One of the kings coming out of Ibadan, Oba Atayese Odun Ogulanu. We got his interview in here. He was king in Ibadan, spiritual king of Obatala. And we got you in here. We got the brother Ankh Banu, who takes people every year to Kemet and to Nubia. So we got his interview in here. We got the sister Dr. Ma'at, her interview in here. So we got a lot of powerful information in this book. You can find it on Amazon, Killmonger's Corner. Type it in, it'll come right up. You can purchase directly from me on Facebook. Benjamin Njie, Njie is my last name. You can look me up. You know, we're going to be pushing this thing to the moon because we want people in academia, regular people walking down the street, all Black people that have an interest in Africa to get this in their hand so they can know that the conscious community got some serious scholars, some serious researchers, and you know, we're not playing. You know, we're trying to, this is a coming out party for the scholars of the conscious community. You know, I put the word out to every scholar I know, and we got some good ones back. So we're putting it out there, and I appreciate you letting me come on your platform, promote, and talk all things Pan-African and Diaspora like. Always a pleasure, man. Y'all keep tuning into his channel, man. Never know, you might see us together in Africa one day.
Oh yeah, well, I'm going back to Nigeria in 2 weeks for the Oshun Festival, so I'll be back.
Fans, you be going, boy.
Yeah. I gotta go, man. I gotta go. So,
go.
Brother Macon, is there anything you want to share in closing? George, is he on? Or?
Yeah. I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead. Anything you want to share in closing? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, I you know, even though I believe that Africans are, you know, was always a global people, I'm not anti-African. I see some people in the chat room talking some stuff. I've never been anti-African. My grandparents didn't raise me that way. And I believe that, you know, like he said, I don't believe everybody's going to be saved, but there has to be some type of global consciousness amongst Africans, and just the African period. When we see each other, we got to get out of this division. And I hopefully is coming in the future. But, you know, I just think that we need to have more conversations like this. We need to talk about the stereotypes and the way we view each other and the way, you know, coming from Africa and living here, what the poverty thing is like in the way we view each other. We got to have these conversations. Sometimes we argue. Like I said, my words wasn't meant to intend a brother, but sometimes you get a little turned up in order for it to get leveled out. So like, we just got to have the real conversations. And I believe once we start doing that, we'll be able to start moving forward. Like we can't tiptoe through the tulips when we talking, not wanting to hurt each other's feelings. Like, we got to really talk about this shit because it's serious. That's all I want to say.
Okay, shout out to Chima Madu for the super chat. Shout out to everybody who super chatted. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, Search for Uhuru. I'll be back on at 1 o'clock with brother Dave Anderson. Dave Anderson was just on the Breakfast Club yesterday. So if you want to check out his interview, go to the Breakfast Club site, look up Dave Anderson, his past interview he did yesterday. He's coming on at 1 o'clock just to talk Black economics and Black empowerment and his BullyCon festival festival that he has going on here coming up shortly. So I will be back on at 1. I'm gonna go eat some lunch and I'm gonna come right back. So until next time, family, peace.